For centuries, poets thought the moth was in love with the fire. They romanticized it as a tragic sacrifice for passion. But science tells a much more mechanical story. Moths do not love the fire. They navigate by the moon. For millions of years, they used the distant, steady light of the moon to fly in a straight line. It was safe. But when humans invented artificial lights, the moth's ancient navigation system was hijacked. It sees the street lamp. Its brain registers it as the moon, and it tries to align its wings. But because the light is so close, the moth flies in a deadly, tightening spiral directly into the heat. It doesn't want to die. It is just trying to find its way home using a broken compass. Look at the history of your relationships. Why does every person you deeply care about eventually leave? Why do you find yourself staring at an empty room, wondering if you are fundamentally unlovable? You think you are just unlucky, but it is not bad luck. Your psychological navigation system is broken. You are not accidentally attracting people who leave. Your nervous system is subconsciously drawn to them, convinced that you are flying towards safety, when in reality, you are flying into the fire. Today, we will dissect the exact psychological and neurological mechanics of why you choose heartbreak and how to finally recalibrate your compass. To understand why they leave, we must understand the map your brain uses to let them in. In psychology, specifically attachment theory, there is a brutal truth. The human brain does not prioritize happiness. It prioritizes familiarity. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, where affection had to be earned, where a caretaker was emotionally distant, or where chaos was the baseline, your nervous system adapted to survive. To your developing brain, love became permanently associated with anxiety. Fast forward to your adult life. When you meet someone who is emotionally stable, who communicates clearly and wants to stay, your nervous system doesn't feel butterflies. It feels alarm. Your subconscious scans this safe person and says, "There is no anxiety here. Therefore, this cannot be love." You friend zone them. You call them boring. But when you meet someone emotionally unavailable, your nervous system lights up. That spark you feel is not a magical soulmate connection. It is the activation of an old wound. Your brain recognizes the emotional signature of the past and thinks, "I know this puzzle. If I can just make this distant person stay, I will finally win the love I was denied long ago." In psychology, this is known as attempting to achieve trauma mastery. You are not consciously choosing pain. You are subconsciously trying to heal a childhood wound by casting a new person in an old role. But the script always ends the same way. But why is it so hard to walk away when they treat you poorly? Because you are fighting neurochemistry. You are trapped in a cycle of intermittent reinforcement. If a slot machine gave you $1 every time you pulled the lever, you would get bored. But because the payout is unpredictable, because you lose 5 times and suddenly win big, your brain becomes addicted to the anticipation. Emotionally unavailable partners are human slot machines. They give you intense attention, then suddenly pull away. They go silent. Your body is plunged into a state of panic. Your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, skyrocket. Then, just as you are about to give up, they return with a sweet message. They offer a breadcrumb of affection. Boom! A massive flood of dopamine hits your brain. The relief from the anxiety is so intense that you mistake this chemical rush for profound love. It is not love. It is a trauma bond. Healthy relationships are built on oxytocin and serotonin, the hormones of safety and calm. Toxic relationships run on adrenaline, cortisol, and dopamine, the hormones of survival and addiction. Your brain literally goes through withdrawal when things are peaceful. You keep chasing the high of the intermittent reward, not realizing the casino is rigged. To survive this chemical roller coaster, your mind performs a magic trick. It blurs reality. You stop dating the person in front of you, and you start dating their potential. When someone is emotionally unavailable, they offer a blank canvas. Because you possess high empathy, you paint a masterpiece on that canvas. They show one brief moment of vulnerability, and you construct an entire imaginary future around it. You become legally blind to the reality of their actions. You ignore the disrespect and the absence because you are fiercely protecting the idea of who they could become. You are dating a ghost. And when they finally leave, your heart shatters, not just for the flawed human who walked out the door, but for the beautiful, imaginary future that just collapsed. But potential is not reality. If you have to squint your eyes and make 1,000 excuses just to see their love for you, it is not love. It is a projection. This brings us to the final, most deeply hidden layer of this dynamic. Why do you stay and try to fix them? Society calls you an empath. You believe you are staying out of selfless love. But underneath the sacrifice, there is a protective mechanism at play. The rescue fantasy. When you make a broken, unavailable person your project, you never have to look at your own internal void. Focusing on their flaws, their healing, and their inability to commit is the ultimate distraction from your own pain. Subconsciously, you believe that if you can fix them, you will prove your own worth. You are not acting out of malice. You are acting out of a deep, unhealed need for validation. You are trying to save them because nobody saved you. But here is the tragedy of the fixer trap. If you succeed in helping them heal, they will often leave anyway, because they will forever associate you with their darkest period. Once they are healthy, they want an equal, not a therapist. So, how do you break the cycle? How do you stop flying into the fire? You do the hardest thing a trauma-bonded brain can do. You must learn to endure boredom. You must intentionally walk away from the chaotic spark. You must train your nervous system to tolerate peace. When you meet someone consistent, someone who says what they mean and does what they say, your brain will scream that something is wrong. It will tell you this person is boring. Stay anyway. Sit in the quiet discomfort of healthy love. Allow your nervous system to regulate. It is not your fault that your compass was broken in childhood, but it is your responsibility as an adult to recalibrate it. Your worth is not determined by how much pain you can endure or how much you can fix a person who isn't ready. The moment you realize that true love is not an emotional roller coaster, but a steady, quiet sanctuary, the runners will naturally stop appearing in your life. Stop flying into the fire. Find the moon. This is Cognilume. Signal in the noise.